This is a pre-built version of the application. So let's go ahead and run it. And data can come from one of three places. Either it could be hard-coded, or it could come from the database, or from file. So from file here we have three files. So this is the states in Australia and their neighboring states. It's JSON files. And this is the states in the Schengen area and their neighboring states. And this is US states and their neighboring states also. And hard-coded, it comes from this file. So here we have for the Australian states, we're specifying the states and their neighboring states. And this is for the US states, and this one is for the Schengen area states. And we can add or remove regions or states here. Same thing for the files, we can add or remove files here. And for data coming from the database, here we create the tables. This is for Australian states, and we populate them. Same thing for US states. We create the table and we populate it. And for Schengen area table. And same thing, we can add or remove tables here describing areas. So let's go ahead and select file and maybe go with Australian states, this JSON file. And we'll go with three colors. So this is where we specify the domain. So we have either three colors, we can use 3 colors, or 4 colors, or 5. And we can add or remove domains here. So we went with 3 colors, and let's display the variables. So here we have the states in Australia and their neighboring states, or the regions and their neighboring regions. So and this is the constraints that we deduced, that this state must be assigned a different color than those 2 states, and same for this one from this state, and this state from those 2 states, etc. So the implicit constraints is that adjacent variables or regions here must have different colors or values. And the domain, we used 3 colors, or the values that are allowed. And the solution will have a list of variable equal value satisfying all constraints. And we will use the backtracking search algorithm. So depth first search, then we consider assignment to a single variable at each step. Then we consider only values which do not conflict with previous assignments. So let's go ahead and do that. So this state was assigned this color, and the neighboring states cannot have that color, they have different colors. Same here and here, all of those have different colors, etc. And let's go ahead and pick up the data from the database. But before doing that, let's go ahead and create the database. So we create it from here. And let's refresh here. And this is the database that we just created. So if we do database, and we have those states, those areas. So maybe if we go with the Schengen area, and I know it's not gonna succeed with 3 colors, but just to show what will happen. So we'll do a backtracking search. Okay, so no variables assignment solution found. So let's do this. Let's do else, and same thing, go with the database and go with the Schengen area, and now use 4 colors. And do the backtracking search. Okay, so it worked. So we have this country and its neighboring country have a different color. Those doesn't have any neighboring countries, and this one, its neighboring countries have different colors. And same for this one, etc. And let's do else, and now go with hard-coded data, and we'll do the US states, and we'll use maybe 5 colors. So display the variables. Those are the regions and their neighboring regions, the states and their neighboring states in the US. And the constraints, you can display the constraints. So we have all those constraints, and we can display the information. So we have those 5 colors that we are going to use. And let's do the backtracking search. So here we go. So this one has this color, this state, and its neighboring state have different color, same. This one have this one, etc. Next, let's go through all the classes. So this class creates and populates dataset tables, and each table contains a group of regions and their neighboring regions. And we can add or remove tables as needed. And this one has the hard-coded data. So it contains variable data, so lists of regions and their neighboring regions, and it contains lists of domain values or colors to be used. Actually, it doesn't contain that. We only have that here. So this was an old comment. So here we have the US states, Australia. When we add a table, we have to list it here. Or when we remove a table, we also remove it from here. Or the hard-coded tables. And we have this class that prompts the user for the file, table, or hard-coded data source, and it prompts the user for domain and variable selection, and picks up and return a map containing the regions and their neighboring regions. So here this is for the database. This is the name of the database, and we're using SQLite database. And this is for the data coming from files. So we have this map coloring app, and this is for the domain directory, domain here. And this class represents a variable, so a region in this case, and it keeps track of a list of neighboring regions and keeps track of a list of constraints associated with this variable. And this class represents a constraint between two variables, and two neighboring regions must have different colors, and it contains logic to make sure that this constraint is satisfied. And this class contains all the display code. So it displays the solution, the derived list of constraints, the initial information, and the constraints, and the variables. And this class contains constraint satisfaction problem, map coloring logic, and it keeps track of the lists of regions and the colors to be used, and checks if the domain values or the color assignments are compatible with the constraints associated with all variables. And it uses the recursive backtracking search algorithm for the color assignments. And this one has the code for driving the application, and it uses the recursive backtracking search algorithm to find a CSP solution. Now the source code will be available for download. Also a members only version, including step-by-step coding, will be available for reviewing by channel members at the senior software engineer level and above.